Hey there, Dragos here, and today let's talk about relationships or human interactions. And this topic has came up very strong in the last few days, and I wanted to discuss about it and to give my perspective about it. So basically, when it comes to human relationships, I kind of find that this is one of the hardest topics for people to deal with in general. Not because the topic itself is hard, because humans' relationship it's not that hard as it seems if it's done right, and that is the key point. If it's done right, because when it comes to relationships, the two things that make it super difficult it's needs that you expect the other person to fulfill for you, and lack of communication. So this, in my opinion, are the two major things that make relationships super difficult. Because when we go into a relationship of any kind, we go in there not not full, not with the idea to enhance the relationship or to just enjoy the relationship. We go there with an expectation, with a need that needs to be fulfilled by the other person. And the thing is, if that need can be fulfilled or not, that's another story. But this is the main thing that why we enter a relationship of any kind is to either fulfill a need that we have either consciously or unconsciously. And when you go into a relationship with this basic idea that the relationship needs to fulfill your needs, that is a recipe for disaster from the start. Because you need to know that you're dealing with humans. Okay, so humans, we have limited energy, limited time, limited emotions. So even if we wanted to help and give you what you need, we can only do that for so long before we ourselves run out of battery and run out of energy. So even if the other person wants to give you what you want, at one point he or she won't have the necessary emotions to give it to you at one point. So that's why you need to work with yourself to deal with those needs by yourself as much as you can, and to not expect those needs to be fulfilled in that relationship. When I'm talking about needs, I'm talking mostly about emotional needs. So those are the things that you can work on to fulfill yourself and to come to a place of peace and of, in a way, self-reliance. Again, it's okay to have some needs in relationship and other partner to fulfill them or to help you with them. That is okay. But when you just have all the needs and you expect the other partner to fulfill them, nah, that will not work. And another important part about the relationship is communication. Because I've seen many times that people tend to get in relationships just because they see a positive side without looking at the negative side or being aware of the negative side or the shadow side of that other person, but completely ignoring it and saying like, oh, it's not that bad, or oh, they will change, or any other excuse that they may come up with. Because what they do is they see the shining part of them, they see the good side of them, they see also the negative side, but they tend to ignore the negative side or the shadow side because they want that positive side so much, and they're willing to compromise. Again, a recipe for disaster later on, because once the honeymoon phase ends and you're no longer, like in the in love period, then you start to see all the shadow, all the bad things happening, and then the person shows not their true face, but all of the aspects of themselves. Because again, people are not bad. People are not evil, or they're not bad like by nature. They're good by nature, but people have trauma. People have been traumatized from childhood, from different experiences, and most of this trauma is being playing out on other people or on their life almost unconsciously. So there are a few people that are aware of their trauma and they're working proactively to change themselves and to deal with their trauma. Because most of the people, they don't even know that they have trauma. They just consider, oh, this is normal. And yeah, this is normal in the society that we're living in, because the more you get awake, the more you get aware, the more you see that the way that we are living, it's insane, like literally insane. But again, because everyone is living like this, we consider this as normal. So the main key points here are that people usually go into relationships, into friendships, like romantic relationships, without looking or discerning about the shadow side of the other person. We look at the positive side, and some people see the negative side, some people don't see. And even if people see the negative side, they tend to ignore it, thinking that, oh, that person is not that bad, or they will change. And because they ignored it in the beginning, they will pay later on for that. And then they think like, oh, that person is bad, or that person, people in general are bad. No, people are not bad. They're just traumatized. And we cannot blame other people for what they're doing. What we can do is to take responsibility. And this is a big part of the spiritual journey, is taking responsibility. And we need to take responsibility when it comes to people, and to see both their sides, with the good side and the bad side, and then to decide, is like, okay, is this person willing for me to invest my time and energy or not? Because once you become aware of their positive and shadow side, and then you make a decision, then it's up to you. If the shadow side manifests sooner or later, then you become aware of it. And then like, okay, I decided, so this is not the other person's fault. This is my decision that I went into this relationship, knowing what I will have to deal with sooner or later. So it's up to us to decide. And it's also up to us to learn to read people and to be attentive of how people behave. Because I don't know if it's just me, or just by years of meditation, but I tend to read people very fast and very easily. A few minutes of conversation with a person, and I know exactly like what I'm dealing with. I'm also very attentive when it comes to people. I'm attentive to how they speak, what words they use, what actions do they have. I'm very attentive to how they behave. And because of this, then I can choose this, like, okay, I will invest more time with this person, or I will not invest, because I can see what's happening behind the scenes. And it's not that I'm blaming them for being bad. It's just like, okay, that's your trauma that you have, and I'm not willing to deal with it. We can be friends, but again, I'm gonna save my time and energy for the right persons that I know that will be a compatible match with me. So yeah, and another thing that happens a lot is people try to change other people. So a lot of people go into relationship thinking, they see the both sides, positive and negative, or the shadow, because the negative is the shadow side. And then they think like, oh, like I'm going to go in these relationships with the expectation to change the other person, because I can see their light, I can see their potential. Again, a recipe for disaster, because once you go in that relationship, if you realize how hard is it for you to change yourself, you will realize that by you trying to change another person, close to impossible. Because that needs to come from their own selves. That needs to be an action that they want to do, that they want to work on themselves and change themselves. And yes, there are a few people who are willing to change and, proactively conquering and facing their shadow or facing their trauma in order to change. And yes, those are the type of people, very rare, honestly, that you can, quote unquote, wait for them to heal their trauma or something like that. But again, it really depends on experience and really depends on from person to person. But the main thing here is for you to be aware, attentive on the other person, and to do not ignore the red flags. Because we want to ignore the red flags because we see the good things, and we're like, yes, I want the good things, even if it has the bad things. So we are desperate. We are so desperate in getting that thing, even with the bad thing attached to it, or with the red flags attached to it. And this is also another part that, again, it comes to us, because we are the only thing that we can change is us. So there is no blaming the other person. It's like, okay, what did I do wrong? What compromises did I do? Where did I sell myself short when it comes to the relationship? And then what I can do to improve it. So this is the main big thing when it comes to relationships, is selling ourselves short because we want that light, that positivity, the thing that the other person has. Instead of going higher, raising our standards and asking for a person that has all of this, knows how to communicate, is emotionally available, and has all of those things. But again, if you want one of that person, you need to become that person also, because then you'll be a vibrational match for that person that you wish. So again, everything comes back to working with us again and again, seeing our emotions, seeing our trauma, seeing our let's say where we lack, or where we are not aware of our behaviors. This is very important when it comes to relationships. And if you see the shadow of the other person and you still accept to be in relationship with them, or to interact with them, knowing about their shadow, that is up to you. That is your rodeo that you choose to participate. And again, it's all about taking responsibility. People are not bad. People are just traumatized, and we need to see and choose with what type of people we want to hang out with. It's as simple as that. So yeah, it's a big one, but I hope it helps. Cheers.